Hey everybody, it's Bryan, and you are listening to the Course Building Secrets podcast. Whether you're a coach or a CEO, the success of your team and clients is based on your ability to deliver a consistent experience and guide them on the fastest path to results. This podcast will give you practical, real-life tips that you can use today to build your online experiences that get results and create raving fans. Why? So you can monetize your expertise and serve more people without adding more time or team to your business. If you're looking to uncover your $1 million framework, package it, and use it to scale, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Course Building Secrets podcast. In this episode, I want to talk about how to design for the age of your avatar, because there are some considerations that you need to remember for younger audiences and older audiences and sort of everyone in between. And so this is a question that I've gotten a lot lately because we're talking about engagement. How do you engage your customers, your members, so that they show up, they participate, they stay, and they get results? That's sort of the $1 million question as you're building your experience, right? You've got to first get some people in. Once you do that, now you can figure out like, okay, so how do you get them engaged? How do you get them to stay and participate? And making sure that you're designing the right thing for the for your specific avatar is very, very important as part of this whole experience. And specifically, as you're creating an online experience, like how does the age of your avatar interact with technology? As you know, there's kind of the younger set are digital natives, right? Like they use their phone as if it were an extra hand. And it's something that they are always grabbing, always in and paying attention to. The way that they consume content is totally different than someone in their 60s or 70s. And so I want to just kind of outline a little bit of that for you today so you can have a couple of things to think about as you're putting together your content. So the very first thing is there's a number of sort of rules that apply to all. And I want to lay those out first. And then I'm going to share with you some kind of tips and tricks for how to think about your audience. Overall, the one thing I do 100% recommend is to have a focus group with your audience. Ask them, specifics about how they want to consume what you have for them within some parameters. Okay, so the very first rule I have is make sure that no matter what you do, you're staying on the path. So regardless of the age of the person that you're working with, you are leading with your signature methodology, right? Like you have your unique intellectual property that helps give them the fastest path from point A to point B, right? From their problem to a resolution. That's always where you lead from. That's where you start, is you own the solution that you can give them to that problem. And so that's the very first thing. A lot of times I see people start to get distracted. They have their core methodology, they've sold their core methodology, and then once they produce their content and start putting it into a membership site or a course platform or, online experience platform, whatever you're using, is that they start getting distracted and all sorts of extra things end up in there, which dilutes from the actual success path. So that's my first rule, is just make sure that you're foundationally putting in the right content, which is that $1 million roadmap, right? Like getting them from point A to point B. Then the second rule is nobody wants a boring experience, regardless of age, right? Like nobody wants to be bored out of their mind. Nobody wants to be watching something or trying to interact with something and being so bored that they fall asleep, right? Like nobody wants that. It doesn't matter how old you are. And to just keep it clean and focused and clear in terms of how somebody navigates through what you have to offer. So in every age group, those are sort of the general rules. Now, I want to break down kind of the differences in 4 different buckets. The first one is the amount of content that you can serve at one time. all of us have a really short attention span, like less than a goldfish at this point, which is frightening. But the older somebody gets, the more of an appetite they have for longer form content. The younger they are, it has to be quick and short and to the point. And so as you're kind of figuring out the general age group of your avatar, that's something to keep in mind is shorter bursts of content it are better for a younger audience. You can get away with longer stuff with an older audience. So that's the first thing, is think about the amount you're serving and the timing. How long are you having them sit without doing an activity or an action? That plays into how you're creating your content. The second thing is your materials. So I'm specifically going to talk about your workbooks and worksheets and whatnot that you may have around your experience. But there are a little, you can come up with some additional examples. But the rule of thumb is you're always going to have people who want to print out the workbooks. Again, older audience tend to want the paper more than a younger audience. And so you can kind of, poll your people, like who wants this in paper, who wants to have it as an interactive PDF. But typically I include both options for the majority of audiences. Some like the paper, some like to print it out. Other people like to do the interactive PDFs, which you can do like in a tablet or iPad, with your Apple Pencil or whatever. And they like to interact and do the activities on the screen themselves. And then the third way, and again, this is great for your younger people who are used to using their phones, their tablets, and devices to just do their work, is to create an interactive activity. Meaning, instead of having it be like a worksheet style, it's just an actual click on this to do this thing, or type in your response. And so you're using the technology to have them interact with it instead of thinking about it in a paper format, like a workbook. And so those are sort of the three different ways, right? And I always recommend having all three as an option, but you'll find that depending upon who your avatar is, they'll have a preference one way or the other. So a paper workbook, or a workbook that they can print or buy or whatever, an interactive PDF, which allows them to fill it in and save it as an electronic document, or interactive activities, meaning you're creating interactions that they can do straight in your platform and track and get feedback and all that kind of stuff. And so that plays into, again, who your audience is and what they're used to doing. The third thing is gamification, and this is how you reward and recognize people's progress through the program. So it's not about a bunch of badges and trophies and whatnot that are randomly put within your program, but it's intentional movement in a particular direction. Like for us, it's are they taking the steps we need them to take to get closer to solving their problem? So younger audiences, again, you're going to do shorter pieces of content, more gamification elements to get them moving forward. You're going to be able to do some different, maybe some more advanced gamification, because they're going to be ready for it, right? Like they're used to having some sort of gaming or progress indicators as they're going through an electronic experience. Your older audience maybe doesn't need as much, but they still like to be rewarded and recognized for hitting certain milestones. And so look at that in terms of how you're dealing with all the different ages. But again, it's a great strategy for engagement for any age. Again, nobody wants to be bored, but the way that you are going to use it is going to be a little bit different. My favorite example A gamification, if you're looking for one, is Duolingo. And those are short daily lessons that each time you do a daily lesson, you're recognized for doing it. And there's some, sort of sophisticated gamification in there, but it's a great thing to model for any age. And you can see how, if you're going through it, there are some things you'll like, some things that maybe feel like they're over the top or too juvenile. Though that's a good indication that it's for a younger audience. And so you can look at that as some indicators for how to start to structure that. And then the last big factor that I just want to cover for kind of figuring out the age of your avatar and what they need is how they're consuming your experience. 9 out of 10 times, if you have anyone under, I don't know if I should say an age, but under, I don't know, let's just say 30, maybe 35, they are primarily using their phone first and then using their desktop. Or depending upon your audience and where they are they primarily at a desk or are they primarily out and about doing different things? You need to consider how they're going through your experience. If they're using the phone, you need to make sure that you're designing for mobile, right? Everything that you're doing is going to be like, can they read it? Can they see it? Can they go through the experience? What does that look like? If you're asking somebody to fill out an interactive PDF on a phone, that's very, very difficult because it's, really, really little. And so they have to transfer over to their desktop to do that. If you're asking them to go and get a bunch of links in a bunch of different places and save things, again, that's difficult to do on a mobile device because it's not set up to do that, right? So, and if people are at a desk all day, a desktop may be the way that they're going through the experience. So really think through that. Some of that is situational, not age, but again, your digital natives, your younger crowd, 9 out of 10 times are doing almost everything on their phones, as certainly as much as possible on their phones. And so the experience you're designing needs to be able to start there and then look at like how would they do that on a desktop. So those are the 4 big things that I look at and kind of consider when I'm helping people think about the different age groups that they are serving. Now, some people are serving all of the age groups, which we can argue that maybe you need to specialize in your avatar, but that's not this conversation. But if you are serving a really wide range of avatars, then my recommendation for you is to split them up into different membership types or audience types so that you can create content specifically for how they would go through the journey. So for example, like I was saying, I was just going back and forth with someone who had a whole curriculum for 10 to 18-year-olds. And within there, some of it was teaching them how to get a job in a specific thing. Some was to get them to be able to do, I don't know, it was just do a specific technique. And other things was just like, hey, we just want them to get involved and get to know all of the different things and just have general excitement around the topic. All 3 of those have really different needs in terms of how the content is structured, how people are going through it, the experience that they have, and how they're learning what you want them to learn to get to the resolution to the problem. And so if you can segment those, so your 10 to 12-year-olds have one experience, your 13 to 15-year-olds have one experience, and your 16 to 18-year-olds have a different experience, then what you're doing is you're giving them the experience that matches their age, matches how they are going to consume what you've given them. And to be honest, it's more age appropriate, right? Like, I don't know if you would be teaching a 10-year-old the same way you would an 18-year-old. And you probably shouldn't be. But the way you're organizing the content, if it's all the same, would definitely be different. And you can do that all in one experience and make it really, really effective to attract all of those different ages. It's just in how you organize it. And so that's why, thinking about how you're organizing by age and what they need. Those 10-year-olds probably don't have a way to, work on an interactive PDF. They would probably want to have little activities that they could do that are in the program itself so that they can do that and move on. So there you go. There's some tips for you on really thinking about the age of your avatar and what they need, and how each age group may have some different needs as you go through and design your experience. All right, there you go. If you love this episode, give us a high rating, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, all the different things. So we will see you on the next episode.
Hey everybody, are you a business owner ready to streamline and scale your business? Imagine solving the biggest business challenges with clarity, a strategy, and a clear plan. Hey, I'm Bryan, and I want to invite you to take the first step towards transforming your business with a free 30-minute discovery call. This call is an opportunity to discuss your goals, identify key challenges, and learn how my mentorship program can help you achieve the success you're aiming for. In just a half hour, we'll explore how you can scale your business by enhancing your authority strategy, engagement strategy, and retention strategy. You'll get personalized advice and a clear path forward. Ready to take the first step? Click on the link below that's in the show notes to book your free discovery call now. I hope to talk to you soon.